My name is Emily, and this is the story of a love that came too late. Sometimes life doesn't give you another chance. Sometimes, when you finally realize someone's value, they are already gone. I was 21 when I met Ryan. He was new in town, confident, charming, and full of dreams. I was quiet, shy, and more focused on my studies than anything else. We met at the university library, both reaching for the same book. He smiled and said, "Ladies first." That small moment changed my life. Ryan was everything I wasn't: loud, funny, fearless. But somehow, he saw something in me that I couldn't see in myself. Slowly, we started talking, first about books, then about life, and eventually about everything. He made me laugh like no one ever had. He would say, "Emily, you take life too seriously. Smile a little, the world isn't that heavy." And I would reply, "Maybe not for you." He would grin, "Then let me make it lighter for you." Days turned into weeks, and before I even realized it, he had become a part of my world. I didn't need anyone else. His presence was enough. One evening, while walking home after class, it started to rain. We ran, laughing, until we found a small cafe to hide in. We sat there, drenched and happy, drinking hot chocolate. That night, he held my hand for the first time. "Emily," he whispered, "promise me something. Never leave me." And I, with all my heart, said, "Only if you promise the same." But promises are easy to make and easier to break. As time passed, Ryan began to change. He started spending less time with me, canceling plans and ignoring messages. I asked him what was wrong, but he always said he was just busy. I wanted to believe him, but my heart knew something was wrong. One day, I saw him at the cafe, the same cafe where we once laughed together. He wasn't alone. A girl sat across from him, smiling, holding his hand, the same way I used to. My chest felt heavy, and my eyes filled with tears. I wanted to run to him, to ask why, but I couldn't move. That day, I walked away, quietly, without a word. Weeks passed. Ryan didn't call. It was as if I never existed. But pain has a strange way of making you stronger. I stopped waiting. I started focusing on myself. I studied harder, applied for a scholarship, and got accepted into a foreign university. It was my dream, something I never thought I'd achieve. Before leaving, I went to that same cafe one last time. I sat by the window, watching the rain fall, just like that first day. My heart still remembered him, but I knew it was time to move on. When I boarded the plane, I looked out of the window and whispered, "Goodbye, Ryan. Thank you for teaching me that love isn't always forever. Sometimes it's just a lesson." In the new country, life wasn't easy. I worked part-time, studied hard, and tried to adjust to a new culture. But slowly, I began to find peace. I learned to smile again, not because someone made me happy, but because I chose to be happy. 2 years passed. I graduated with honors, got a good job, and started building the life I had always dreamed of. I still thought of Ryan sometimes, but the pain had turned into something quiet, like a soft ache that reminded me how far I had come. And then, one morning I received a message. It was from Ryan. Emily, I know I don't deserve to message you, but I miss you. I was a fool to let you go. Can we talk? For a long time, I just stared at the screen. My heart was shaking. Part of me wanted to reply. Part of me didn't. After hours of thinking, I finally typed, greater than. Some things break so silently that you don't even hear the sound. You only feel the emptiness later. I didn't send it. I deleted it because sometimes silence says more than words ever could. A week later, I received another message. Greater than, Emily, I'm in your city. Can we meet once? Please. My hands trembled. My mind told me to ignore him, but my heart, it still wanted answers. So, after 2 long years, I agreed to meet him. That evening, as I waited in the cafe, yes, the same cafe again, my heart was beating fast. Would he look the same? Would he recognize the person I had become? The door opened. Ryan walked in, older, quieter, carrying guilt in his eyes. He smiled weakly and said, "You look different." I smiled back. I am different. Ryan sat across from me, his hands shaking slightly as he held his coffee cup. There was an awkward silence between us, not the kind that comes from anger, but the kind that comes from time and distance. Finally, he broke it. Emily, I know I don't deserve your time, but I had to see you. I've lived with regret every single day since you left. I looked at him quietly. He looked older. His eyes didn't shine the way they used to. There was sadness in them, maybe even pain. Why now, Ryan? I asked softly. Why after all this time? He sighed, his voice trembling. Because I finally understood what I lost. That girl at the cafe. She meant nothing. I was stupid, careless, and selfish. You were the only one who truly loved me, but I didn't see it until it was gone. His words cut deep. For years I had imagined this moment, the apology, the tears, the closure, but now that it was here, I felt nothing. No anger, no hate, just a quiet acceptance. I smiled sadly. Ryan, do you know what hurts the most? It's not that you left. It's that you made me believe you never would. He lowered his head, tears filling his eyes. I was scared, Emily. I thought love was easy, but when things got real, I ran away. I thought I'd find something better, but I was wrong. I never found peace after you. For a few moments, we sat in silence. The rain started falling outside, tapping gently on the window. It felt like the universe was crying with him. He looked at me again. Can we start over? I know I've done terrible things, but I've changed. I want to make things right. I took a deep breath. My heart wanted to believe him, to imagine that maybe love could bloom again. But deep down, I knew that chapter was already closed. Ryan, I said softly, you came back, but you came back too late. He stared at me, confused. Too late? What do you mean? I mean that the girl who once waited for your calls, cried for your messages, and prayed for your return. She doesn't exist anymore. She grew up. She healed. She learned that love should never destroy you. His eyes filled with tears. He reached out to touch my hand, but I gently pulled it back. "I don't hate you, Ryan," I said. "In fact, I thank you, because losing you taught me to love myself. You broke me once, but I rebuilt myself stronger." He wiped his face, whispering, "I don't deserve your forgiveness." I smiled faintly. "Forgiveness isn't for you, Ryan. It's for me, so I can sleep peacefully without anger or pain." He looked down, silent. I could see the weight of regret on his shoulders, heavy, real, painful. After a while, he asked, "Are you happy now?" I looked out the window, watching people laugh and walk in the rain. "Yes," I said quietly, "I am. And it's not because life got easier. It's because I stopped chasing what wasn't meant for me." And realized how empty his success felt without someone who truly cared. I told him about my new life, my job, my students, my small apartment filled with plants and peace. When it was time to leave, Ryan stood up and said, "I wish I had understood you back then." I smiled. "Maybe if you had, we wouldn't be here now. But that's life, Ryan. Sometimes we lose people to learn what love really means." He nodded slowly, his voice breaking. "Goodbye, Emily." I looked at him one last time. "Goodbye, Ryan. Take care of yourself." And with that, he walked away, this time for good. Months later, I received a letter. It was from Ryan. Inside was a single line written in his familiar handwriting. "Greater than, thank you, Emily. You were the best chapter of my life, even if I was the worst in yours." I folded the letter and placed it in my drawer, not out of love, but out of respect for the person I once was. The girl who loved deeply, got broken, and still chose to grow. Now, whenever I sit by a window and watch the rain, I smile, because I no longer wait for someone to return. I wait for new dreams, new beginnings, and new stories. Love taught me a lot, but the greatest lesson was this: the right person at the wrong time is still the wrong person. And sometimes the love that ends is the one that finally sets you free. Never beg someone to stay. The one who truly loves you will never leave. And if they do, let them go. Because worth doesn't depend on who stays, but on how bravely you keep moving forward.